Hello there everybody, Adam Cleary from FourFourTwo here, and Eric Ten Hag's master plan to make Manchester United a title-winning force nears completion. All he needs now is the final piece of the puzzle, and no big deal, sure it won't be a problem, it's only a 30-goal-a-season centre-forward. And thus they have been linked and may even have agreed a fee by the time this video goes out with Rasmus Hojlund. Now whether or not they get him remains to be seen, but looking at the kind of player he is, it does tell us a lot about the kind of player Eric Ten Hag wants, and using that information, we can look at some other options. So let's do that. Okay, so in case you couldn't pick up on the heavy sarcasm at the very start of this video, it actually is pretty difficult to get a 30-goal-a-season centre-forward in the Premier League. In fact, it's so difficult that even when you buy a 30-goal-a-season centre-forward, there's no guarantee that even is a 30-goal-a-season centre-forward. It's just a term I'm going to be using interchangeably for very good player. Now this right here, this is sort of the attacking shape that Man United settled on towards the end of last season, and with these players, it's probably how they're going to look next season. They've got quite a few options in this regard, like you'd probably see Fernandes in one of the wide areas to allow Eriksen to be in there, and obviously the identity of whoever this is might well influence who these other people are, but I think by and large you'll see a lot of this. So what does our mystery man need to be able to do? Well, you've sort of got to think of Wout Weghorst as sort of like the forerunner to this. He wasn't going to be able to go out and get the centre-forward he needed, and indeed Weghorst was not the centre-forward he needed last season, but he was able to do a number of the jobs that allowed the system to work a little bit better. One of the main ones was the ability to pin defenders in place. And you either do that with your physical muscles, or you just do it with your movement. So in this sort of situation, you might push right up, you force them to go back with you, that creates a bit of space for your friends. Or alternatively, we'll just reset this, you just make a run across one of them, which pulls them away, and then all of a sudden that creates some movement. Or alternatively, you just take up a position they're maybe not expecting, that creates a bit of space there, or you go and move into another position entirely, and that creates a bit of space there. You are the number one concern, you are the number one handful, so what you do will influence the rest of the defense, so you need to have the brain to do that in one way and the body to do it in another. You also, and this wasn't something you'd have scored Weghorst particularly high for, but bless him, he tried, you need to be able to come out of the forward line and just join in with a linker play. You need to be technically very good. And they do that because Ten Hag believes very much in the values of having ball players in every single position he can. So if the centre forward drops away from the back line and the defender don't go with him because they're afraid of leaving the space, then you help create an overload in the middle. You help to create chances for everybody. And also, if you're a big strapping young lad at the exact same time, you can do this without the team even being in that part of the pitch. You can give them a very direct option to go long into you. You're technically good, so you control the ball. Then you play people in as and when they catch up to you. So it gives you the short option, gives you the long option. And finally, you need to be able to score loads of goals. You're going to be in a very well-oiled system full of players who are technically excellent, who are all capable of creating a lot of chances for you. You need to be efficient at putting those away as and when they come. And you know what? If you're sat there going, is this not a bit of a stretch? Like, two of these were things Weghorst wasn't even good at. Can we really infer this much about Ten Hag's footballing philosophies from his short loan spell? Excellent point. But if we go back slightly further to his time at Ajax, we will see enormous parallels between the way he evolved that team and the way he's trying to evolve Man United. Without turning this into a different video entirely, if you remember Ajax's run to the Champions League semi-final with the 3-3 against Spurs, Mora, and so on and so forth, they did that with Dusan Tadic as a false nine in the middle. And we all thought that was really interesting. It was like, oh my god, that's that guy who used to play on the wing for Southampton, and now he's like playing up front for this really good team in Europe. What an interesting transition. But Ten Hag had him there because he had this really free-flowing system where everybody was capable of dropping into all kinds of different positions, and Tadic's just ability on the ball and ability to float out into the wide areas like the players in number 10 just was chaos, was carnage. It created so much space for his teammates. And Tadic could still score goals. He had a whole bunch of them in that Ajax team, but the way he preferred to do it wasn't by being direct and playing right up against the centre forwards. It was by dropping into slightly wider areas and catching people off guard and making runs from different positions. And while they are very, very different players, not unlike what Marcus Rashford was doing last season. But anyway, yes, back on topic, Ten Hag added Sebastian Haller to this Ajax system, and all of a sudden, they went from being a team full of just passing and moving and creating space and creating chances and quote-unquote total football to all of that plus a far more direct option. And where Tadic was able to pin defenders or get them out of position with his movement, all of a sudden Haller was doing the same thing, but with his physicality as well. And where Tadic was great at coming off the forward line to receive the ball to feet and get involved in the build-up play, Haller was comfortable doing all that, but he was also more than happy just receiving a long ball. And finally, and most Britishly of all, when they did get somebody on the ball in a wide area, instead of constantly being relying on someone making a near post run and getting across a defender to get a tap in, all of a sudden, they could just hoist it up to the back stick where the big man would head it in. Brilliant! And thus, this is the kind of player he's now trying to buy for Man United. Weghorst didn't do anywhere near all of this stuff, but he did enough of it that you can see him trying to repeat the process. And this is why they want Rasmus Hojlund. He can do pretty much all of these things. He's excellent at dropping off the front line to receive the ball and bring his teammates into play. He's excellent at using his movement and his physicality to put defenders where they don't want to be. He is an excellent finisher, both with his feet and, crucially for this profile of player, in the air. He receives the ball in so many good areas, and he can actually take people on at the same time. He's really quick. Like, look at his FB ref profile for forwards in Serie A last year. That is about as complete a centre forward as you're going to get. He scores really highly in every single element. But here's the most important bit if you're going to play for Man United: shots on target and shots on target percentage. He is a lethal goal scorer. If you're a team that's capable of creating a lot of chances, he is a player who's capable of scoring a lot of goals. And with his average shot distance being so low, that tells you his movement and his goal scoring instincts are so strong that he's not reliant on snatching at chances from far out. He will be in the right place at the right time. But, as we have already seen across the summer, there is a problem with Rasmus Hojlund, and that is that Atalanta value him probably way in excess of what he's realistically worth. I've got no doubt in my mind that at some point in the very near future, he will be an 80, 90, 100 million pound striker, but the guy is 20 and he's had 1.5 really good seasons, and if I'm Man United, probably don't really want to pay that. If you're going to spend that kind of money, you probably want Victor Osimhen, who does all of this and slightly more. Or you want Harry Kane, who has done all of this, proven in the Premier League for the better part of 10 years. Like, the transfer fees between those three will be relatively similar. So why the most risky one? Well, I'm not even going to try and break this down for you, actually, because there is a far better video on Tifo right now looking at the finances of this deal and the money side of the Hojlund transfer. But the short version is, it's his wages. Basically, while you're probably looking at a similar transfer fee for Hojlund or Osimhen or Kane, the fact that you could probably get him for 40 or 50 grand a week, whereas the others are going to cost you 250, 300, 400, anything around there, means that the overall cost of the transfer over the period of the contract is actually like a fraction for him. So in that sense, financially, when we are hearing reports with the takeover still going on, Man United aren't really sure they've got that much money to spend, and it's very difficult to get a centre forward in on a budget. There is another reason why they can't really justify getting Kane, and that's the age of this Manchester United squad. They've got a lot of players right now who are pretty much in their peak years, and in the next 2 or 3 may start to have some kind of physical decline, and they've actually got very few who are entering this period of their careers. Like, you can see here, a lot of minutes for Man United last season went to players who in the next 3 or 4 years you're probably going to have to look at getting at least cover or a full-time replacement for. What makes Mount and Onana such good bits of business, because at 24 and 27 they're actually quite young for players in that position, so you can rely on them for probably the entire length of the contract you've signed them for. But you go and get Harry Kane in, who is 29 when I'm recording this video, but I think will be 30 by the time it's gone out. Obviously, he's 29 until he's 30, and such. And not only do you run the risk of seeing a decline in the next few years, but there's no resale value. So when you look at the options on the market, Manchester United need somebody who can do all of these things. That makes it a small pool, and they need it to be somebody who's not actually that old. That's an even smaller pool, and then they need it to be somebody they can actually afford, and that's a smaller pool still. In fact, it pretty much only leaves you with Hojlund. Or does it? Hi there, everyone. Just interrupting my own video, because you're probably now thinking, ooh, that's an exciting setup. You're going to tell us about some other player who could do this job. And yes, I was going to do that. Evan Ferguson at Brighton. There was a whole bit about him that was going to go in here. But as you can clearly see, I'm not in 442 Towers, am I? I'm in St Pancras Station, because a thing has come up, so I haven't got time to edit it. So later on in the video, when I mention him, that's why, because there was a bit about him that was going to go here, but it can't because I have to go somewhere else. So that's why that is. Bye. So to finally circle back to the point I was originally trying to make, when you look at all the factors involved in Manchester United shopping for a centre forward, Hojlund is almost certainly the best of the lot. Ferguson would be cheaper, Kane would be more reliable, Osimhen would be way more fun, but Hojlund, he's got a bit of everything. But I mean, just what I think, isn't it? So if you're a Man United fan, or even if you're not, do get it in the comments below. Is that the kind of centre forward they need? Is that where they should spend their money? Should they just go out and get Kane? Like, we only live once, don't we? Might as well have a nice time doing it. All opinions welcome in the typey box. Thank you. Also, while I've got you, whoosh sound effect noise, the new 442, the season preview edition, the best one we do all season. That is now available in all good newsagents, and of course, the really crap ones as well. Until next time, though, you want to get me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, all of them. I'm absolutely everywhere at Adam Cleary, CLERY. 442 is in all those places as well. You can get it at 442. But until next we meet. And apologies if this one was really manic. I had to record it like last thing in the day before I go to Amsterdam. Don't ask. I've been Adam Cleary. I'll see you soon. God, I just love you. You're great. Goodbye.